I'll never forget that stormy night when my La 55,000 fishing boat, the only thing my dad left me, smashed against the rocks. It wasn't the wind or waves that did it. No, it was Evelyn Harper, the Homeowners Association president, who took a knife to its mooring line, thinking she'd finally run me out of town. She stood there in the rain, smirking, belying she'd won. But that night, she lit the fuse that would burn her whole empire to the ground. I just rolled into Palm Cove in my beat-up pickup, hauling everything I owned to the waterfront house my dad left me. The air was thick with judgment, and there she was, Evelyn, arms crossed, lips pinched like she'd bitten a lemon, staring me down like I was trash, lowering her property values. I felt like an outsider, even with the deed in my pocket. Then Sarah Thompson, a neighbor with warm eyes, walked over. "Your dad and I were close," she said, glancing at Evelyn. "Watch out for her. She runs this place like a dictator, and your dad nearly got her kicked out of power years ago. She's never forgiven him." I shook her hand, introducing myself as Nathan Brooks, hoping for a quiet life. But deep down, I knew peace wasn't on the menu in Evelyn's kingdom. The next morning, Evelyn showed up with a grim-faced guy, Victor Lane, her so-called security chief. With a fake smile, she handed me a folder of 37 violations, from grass too long to my boat's cover being the wrong color, with a due law 15,000 fine, due immediately. It was a shakedown, plain and simple, meant to scare me off. I didn't flinch. I went inside, grabbed an envelope of my dad's SAVYNGS, and handed it over. "Hope this squares us up," I said, calm as could be. Her shock was worth every penny. She'd expected me to beg or fight. Instead, I threw her off balance. "Not everyone belongs in Palm Cove," she hissed as she left, Victor's cold eyes lingering on me. I just nodded and kept unpacking. That night, standing on my deck, I ran my hand along the hull of my dad's boat, Endurance Saw. He'd named it that for a reason. "Son," he used to say, "sometimes you win by keeping your mouth shut and letting your enemies trip over their own lies." Those words stuck with me as I thought about the bow not just wooden fiberglass, but a piece of him. He'd saved 15 years for it, working double shifts at the marina. When cancer took him 3 months ago, Endurance Saw became his spirit, his fight, his legacy. I wasn't about to let Evelyn destroy that. The harassment started small power cutoffs, Victor lurking around my property. Sarah caught me installing security cameras and asked why I wasn't raging. I set my dad's old pocket watch on the boat's deck, a ritual I'd started. "Dad," said the powerful hate, "nothing more than the patience of those they oppress." I told her. Inside, I was furious, but outside, stone cold calm. Evelyn had no idea who she was messing with. I overheard locals at the hardware store whispering about Evelyn's reign of terror. She'd driven out 7 families with fines and harassment, forcing them to sell cheap to her hand-picked buyers. It wasn't personal, it was a system. And systems have patterns. I started documenting everything, keeping my property perfect to frustrate her. At an HOA meeting, she announced new dock rules clearly aimed at endurance saw age limits, color codes, sizes that didn't match my boat. An old man, Mr. Grayson, dared to question her. "Is this legal without notice?" he asked. Evelyn snapped, humiliating him in front of everyone, her mask slipping just enough to show the bully underneath. When I got a notice to remove endurance saw in 30 days, I wanted to punch a wall. But I dug into the law and found a grandfather clause me dad's boat was protected. Evelyn was LVYD. I overheard her at a barbecue, sneering, like father, like son. That old fool was lucky to die before I finished him. I recorded it, saying nothing. My silence was driving her crazy. Things got darker. Victor was caught on my cameras cutting my boat's mooring line part way, whispering, "It'll snap in a storm." Then, an anonymous email showed Evelyn inspecting the lines at night. The community was watching now, tension crackling like a storm brewing. At a potluck, Mrs. Ellis, a retired teacher, whispered, "You're braver than your dad." She's run out everyone who stood up to her. I learned Evelyn's late husbands will tide her wealth to her HOA presidency, lose that, and she'd lose everything. No wonder she was ruthless. The night of the storm, my phone buzzed with a camera alert. Through the rain, I saw Evelyn, knife in hand, sawing the weakened line. I ran out, but it was too late. The line snapped, and saw drifted into the chaos, slamming against pilings. I dove in, the cold water dragging me under. Lightning lit up the boat as it crashed on the rocks, its hull splintering like my heart. I grabbed a piece of debris railing with endurance carved in my dad's handwriting. Through the storm, I saw Evelyn watching smug. I pulled out my phone and recorded her. Morning brought devastation. Saw was a wreck. I knelt beside it, clutching the railing, tears mixing with salt water. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whispered, but grief turned to steel. Officer Lopez called it storm damage, but I requested a report and salvaged my camera's footage. Sarah found me editing the video, stunned by my calm. "This isn't just about my boat," I said. "It's about ending her empire." I showed her my dad's journal years of notes on Evelyn's scams, from embezzlement to bribery. Detective James Carter, my dad's old fishing buddy, reviewed the footage. "This is big, Nathan," he said. "Embezzlement, corruption, maybe RICO charges." I asked him to wait. I needed more. Allies emerged, Mrs. Larson with HOA records, the Garcias with footage of Victor's trespassing, Mr. Hayes with financial discrepancies. My dad's safety deposit box held photos of Evelyn meeting officials on a yacht, passing envelopes. It was a bribery ring, and saw was just collateral damage. Evelyn, sensing the noose tightening, offered me $200,000 to leave. I recorded her, silent as ever. Her desperation grew. She fired Victor, who spilled everything: payoffs, vandalism, her insurance records. Councilwoman Laura Bennett, scared for her career, turned on Evelyn, exposing her influence over City Hall. The community rallied. Mr. Grayson held a meeting, and residents spoke out. Fear giving way to defiance. The day Evelyn got her federal summons, Palm Cove exhaled. Charges piled: embezzlement, bribery, property destruction. Her mansion became a community center. Her cars vanished. Her power crumbled. At her sentencing, the courtroom buzzed. 8 years in prison, $2 million in fines and restitution. The judge called her crimes a betrayal of community trust. I stood to speak, eyes locked on Evelyn. "I don't need to shout," I said. "She's already faced justice." The room felt electric. Palm Cove changed. Sarah became HOA president, and neighbors rebuilt Saw together, a symbol of our fight. As I stood on its deck, Dad's watch gleaming in the sunset, I toasted him silently. His patience, his silence had won. Evelyn thought she'd broken me, but she'd only exposed herself. Water doesn't shout to wear down stonite, just persists. Now, what do you think? Was my silence the right weapon? Or should I have fought louder? Could Evelyn have been stopped sooner if the community hadn't stayed quiet? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story gripped you, and subscribe for more tales of justice.